Yo, Sleepy Sheepy here. Today we're going to be running another challenge run brought to you by BadBlueMan subreddit's Bounty Board, and these challenges were extremely fun. We'll be helping a host get to a fog wall, we're going to be getting summoned as a blue and trying to assist the red in the world, and we'll also be doing some technically more difficult challenges that involve a little bit more skill during some invasions. So these were really fun, unique, and exciting, and resulted in some very strange situations, as you can see on screen right now. So let's go ahead and jump into the first challenge here. Alright, so first up we're going to try to complete a invasion while only using damage from a crossbow. We don't actually have to land the final blow with the crossbow shot or kill all the summons, we just need to make sure that we only deal crossbow damage or status effect damage from a crossbow. So our route that we're taking here is going to involve using a pulley crossbow in each hand, running poison bolts, and trying to get an AR buff pretty early on. We do have the mushroom hat as well as the Kindred Rot talisman, so both those things are going to boost our AR once we proc poison, and then we can switch over to something that's going to be a little bit more damaging, and that's going to be lightning bolts. So lightning bolts do quite a bit of damage, and we also have a physic to boost our lightning damage. So those things together should allow us to do more damage than you typically would be able to with the pulley crossbow, and pretty early on we are able to get that poison proc, which is what we're going for. The PvE has been very helpful in this. We tried to bait the PvE into the mix early on, which means we can get some alone time with the host, and they're playing very aggressively, so we're able to get a number of shots with the pulley crossbow off and finally take care of the host rather, and get that challenge checked off in not too much trouble. Moving on, we have the next challenge, which is going to be the heavy-handed challenge, and this means only delivering damage using fully charged heavy attacks. And I want to run kind of a one-shot-ish build to do this, and that means I'm going to be running the zweihander with innate pierce damage that's associated with the kind of poke attacks on the first part of the charge attack, and then we also have the spear talisman and the axe talisman to boost it further. We have Royal Knight's Resolve to boost it even further, and if that wasn't enough, we do have the mixed physic that involves the tier that further boosts charged attacks. So we're really going for a mix of charge damage as well as pierce damage to get that counter damage that comes when your opponent is attacking you. Now this first invasion we're able to take care of the blue with fully charged attacks pretty easily. The Phantom manages to kill himself just going for shield crash, but we do get hit with the rejection attack from the host and get knocked off, so we do have to try again. Now this next one is very, very close. We have some time alone with this Phantom, and we're going to be going for our fully charged attacks. We just miss on that first one, so we'll need to be a little bit better with our timing, and here the PvE actually does a great job of preventing this player from moving well, and we managed to catch their roll with our fully charged poke. Now the host has not come into the mix just yet, but here they are coming up the ladder, and we're going to go for Royal Knight's Resolve, just try to maximize the damage we can go for here. And I thought it'd be nice to get a sleep pot on them so that I could just kind of have them stuck still for my fully charged attack, but what actually happens here in just a moment, we toss that sleep pot and do 1 damage on them, which means we've now failed the challenge because all of our damage has not come from charged attacks. Now we do manage to get the follow-up charge attack on this player and one-shot them, but we did fail the challenge because we hit them with the sleep pot, so unfortunate moment there, and we will need to try one more time. Next, we're at the Halig Tree, and we have some players with interesting setups and ones that'll actually be kind of conducive to completing this challenge. We have a player using the Bloodhound Fang and then another player using the Blasphemous Blade. Now, the host is using the Blasphemous Blade, so we'll need to look out for their Ash of War. That's going to take up a lot of space, and it won't be something that we can hyper armor through. My intention is to wait for the follow-up of the Bloodhound Fang and then hit them with the fully charged attack, but here we can see the problem with the Blasphemous Blade knocking out of our attack. They don't go for Blasphemous Blade early enough, so we are able to actually just time our fully charged R2 and connect it as they come out of the Bloodhound's finesse, and that leaves us in a one-on-one position with the host. We're in no rush at this point, we're going for our fully charged attacks, and basically the game plan here is to hyper armor through one of their hits and get that pierce damage, and we do manage to do that successfully after they attack out of a jumping attack. So just the hyper armor is absolutely nuts and a great way to complete a challenge that's focused on charging attacks. Next up, we're going to be going for the Varre Bouquet Hardswap. The real challenge, I think, aside from just being able to hardswap in general, is making sure that you land the final blow on the host with Parries Bouquet. Because Parries Bouquet does such little damage, it means that you really need to make sure your host is in the right spot and kind of attacking well on low health so that you can do that final bit of damage with Parries Bouquet. Even with some arcane allocation, just the innate AR of Parries Bouquet is so low that it can be kind of tricky. So this one was very, very close, I think. They were poisoned, and I think that's why it was just a little bit unclear. So we do see them at pretty low health here. After we proc the bleed, we get the parry, we swap over to Parries Bouquet, and we get the final riposte, but it's not clear if the last bit of damage came from the riposte or if it came from the poison. And I want to make sure that my fellow judges, or well, I'm not a judge, but the judges in this challenge have a nice easy time in deciding whether or not the challenge was successful and just can reward me the points as they see fit. So we're going to go ahead and give this another try. So this next one, we just want to take care of the Phantom as quickly as possible. We'll be going for Endure with some Bleed Claws. We are running an Arcane build because we want to get as much damage from Parries Bouquet as possible. And here we do manage to get a nice parry after they attack out of stun. We go for our Hardswap, and in classic From Software fashion, we get 0 damage. So an unfortunate moment there, and the amount of damage we get on this player is definitely going to be a bit of an issue. So we switch over to a Misericord in just a minute, and switching over to the Misericord is going to allow us to avoid the poison that comes with Venomous Fangs. We don't want to have a repeat of the, unclear poison damage, and we also don't want to accidentally bleed proc them. So here we do finally get another hard swap riposte. Things are looking pretty good, but we don't quite kill them. So again, not all the way, not exactly what we're looking for. And they do have the Royal Remains armor on, which means that they are getting health back kind of slowly, but still some HP that could potentially move them out of one-shot range with the Parries Bouquet riposte. So again, we're just trying to keep them nice and low on health. It's hard because they don't typically want to attack when their health is pretty low. They want to back off, and it can be difficult to kind of get them baited into an attack where we can get that riposte. Now, we have a lot of back and forth, and here again I'm going for the chip damage, just trying to get them into one-shot range. I go for a parry here, and I think I probably should have stuck with that approach. I should have kept parrying until I landed things, but they weren't attacking too much, and finally we do get a final hit on them, do 72 damage with the Misericord, and that actually kills them. So again, the challenge has been failed, and we can see kind of the difficulty of this challenge. Now, next up we have one player that is pretty latent, and that's going to be the host. We can see them just kind of skipping around a little bit, and then we do have a decent connection with this player with the Blasphemous Blade. Now, we go for a number of hits with the claws, and the claws just do crazy damage, especially at low levels, so we're able to catch their roll and take care of that player. Now, again, same strategy as before. We're going to do chip damage with the Misericord, just try to bait them into some nice attacks, and here we get a heavy attack, bait them into an attack out of stun, and right as the blue comes into the world, we're able to get that successful kill with Parries Bouquet. Now, due to their latency, it takes a second for them to actually show up and die, but we are successful. Moving on, we're going to be trying to lead a host to the fog wall after we've killed their Phantom. We're kind of trying to protect them, encourage them that we are now one of their cooperators. However, they didn't really get the memo. Part of this is because we've just killed their Phantom, so it's a little bit on us, I would say, but that's the challenge, and we'll try to be completing it. Now, this is probably the fastest way to complete this challenge because the distance between the Site of Grace and the fog wall is about 10 feet, and if you kill the Phantom and you get them to go through the fog wall, you've pretty much done your job. But I didn't really feel like this type of invasion was exactly in the spirit of the challenge. It was almost a little bit too easy. So here we do get them to go through the fog wall, but I do want to try again. So I think it's important to just kind of go with the spirit of these challenges rather than just the fastest way to get them done, depending on the time frame you have to complete them. So this one is a little bit better. There's slightly more than 10 feet between the Site of Grace and the fog wall, and we're going to be going after this Phantom real quick. So we're able to get a very quick bleed on them. They are running Raptor Talons with Bloodflame Blade, which is much stronger, I would say, than the Venomous Fangs that are just bleed infused, because Raptor Talons and Bloodflame Blade do much more bleed buildup. Now, we do have a little bit more robustness than this player just based on their armor, and they also are going to make a weird decision to switch away from the raptor talons. Those are much stronger. I need to respect those much more than I do this whip, and they're going to be going for a buff on the whip, which is honestly just kind of a poor choice because it leads them in a position where I'm able to pressure them, and we can see as they go for heals, I'm just able to continuously deliver attacks and take them out. Now, again, we have this issue where the host is not really getting it that we're on their side, even though we do have the talisman to make it look like we're on their side. So what we're trying to do here is just discourage them from attacking us. So we go for a number of parries as they just kind of spam L1 in our direction, and we don't go for any ripostes. Obviously, we want to be polite, we want to be friends, and so we leave a rainbow stone just kind of as a gesture of goodwill. They don't really do anything to acknowledge the rainbow stone, so we go ahead and leave some lord runes. We think, you know, surely if we leave them some runes, they'll be a little bit happier. We'll be a little bit better friends in this moment. They pick up the Lord Rune, so I think we're in good shape, and then they immediately start spamming L1. So a little bit rough with the katana attacks, and quite some time goes on, but eventually we lead them a little bit closer to the fog wall. No other players have come into the world, so they don't seem to have like the blue ring on or anything like that. But we're getting them a little bit closer. We shake our shield, you know, encourage them, go through the fog wall. We can do this together. We're a team. They're not buying it, but I think they're sick of me at this point, so they just go through the fog wall. And I would say that was more within the spirit of the challenge. I wish they would have understood that we're friends, but, you know, such is life. Now, the last, or the second to last challenge actually we're going for is Overcooked, and that's going to be to win an invasion using a oil pot followed up by fire damage. And I'm going to be running the pot helm because it's going to increase the damage we can do with our pot attacks, and then I'll also be running the talisman that does the same thing. So we quickly kill the AFK Phantom, and now we just have a one-on-one with the host, which means we're in a pretty good spot. They take a minute to welcome us in, we take a minute to throw an oil pot in their direction, and we're going to be using Endure to our advantage, because if we can just Endure into one of their attacks and then throw an oil pot at them, we'll be more likely to actually get that oil pot to connect. And we know the oil pot has connected if we see that 1 damage. Otherwise, we're not actually getting the oil buff on them, and we do need to be careful about, you know, debuffing them, because every time the fire hits them, they are going to be debuffed from the oil. So we'll be alternating between these two different type of pot attacks, and I do love to see that they pulled out a pot as well. Now here we can see just, you know, the massive damage when the oil buff is in place and we hit them with the pot. It did about half their health. Here we do get hit, but we do see that 1 damage that's required to get them with the oil pot, and finally as they run away we hit them with the last fire pot to get the fire damage for the win. Now, probably the hardest part of this challenge run was getting summoned as a blue. The activity for blues is very slow, and it honestly makes the most sense to just multitask and wait until you see that you've actually been summoned. So here we do end up as a blue in Liurnia, and we're going to be going after the host essentially in this. Now, the way to kind of complete this challenge, there are a number of different ways to do it, but the different things you want to do is either drop an item for the red invader that might be helpful to them, potentially deliver damage on the host. The only way to do that is to drop a frenzy stone and have the frenzy build up cause the host to take damage, but unfortunately this host is privy to that, and so they eat some boluses even though they are standing in the frenzy stone area. Now we do have a red that comes into the world, and they're pretty quickly going after a host. Another part of this challenge is to heal the host, or heal the red, so we do drop a nice warming stone for the red, try to give them some HP back. They don't really need it, they're doing quite well against this blue. Another way to kind of incorporate the spirit of this challenge is to aggro some of the PvE and try to bring it over towards the host. So that's what we're going to be doing. We've got some dancing lobsters that we bring into the mix, and the very valiant blue is going to run in and try to kill those lobsters while this very polite red just watches. I do a horrible thing and accidentally get them sniped because the lobster is aggroed onto me, but I leave a warming stone for the red, again as a gesture of goodwill, so they know that we're all friends. Now things got pretty weird throughout this, and I don't think I need to narrate all of it. I think it's probably better if you just watch and enjoy some music. I would say if things seem a little strange now, it's only the tip of the iceberg. By the end of this invasion, everyone was glitching, everyone was having a great time, and it does conclude with kind of a sad moment, but exactly what we would hope for a challenge run. So I'm going to stop talking now, and we'll just see where this goes. So ultimately a red does come into this world. They unfortunately cannot see any of the AoEs that have been caused by this glitch, and they do complete this challenge for me. This was a super fun invasion and a super fun challenge run, and if you wouldn't mind considering subscribing, I'd definitely appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day.